Now, should we talk about Prince Andrew? It would be rude not to. He's been all but banished from public life, and his brother, the King, is now being urged to give him the final chop by kicking him out of his Royal Lodge residency in Windsor Park. But despite all his tribulations off the back of his disastrous friendship with paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, the Duke of York is now being mooted to rekindle an old flame by sensationally remarrying ex-wife Sarah Ferguson in a bid to salvage his tattered reputation. Former royal correspondent and good friend of the show, Michael Cole, wrote in the Daily Express it would be the most significant step towards restoring his reputation and finding a way back to public life, which he desperately wants. Well, there you go. What a tantalising thought. Should Andrew remarry Sarah Ferguson? Lady C, is that the idea? Would that save him?
Well, I don't know that it would save him, but I think it's a very good idea. The fact of the matter is they never really wanted to get divorced in the first place. They were more or less bounced into a divorce, not the separation, but the divorce. Although she was bounced into the separation. And I think it would actually be a very good thing if they remarried. I don't know to what extent it would save him, but I think it would certainly be a very positive step for him personally, and it would tick a lot of boxes.
Indeed. Lady C, you've always got your finger on the pulse. They cohabit, don't they, in the Royal Lodge, more or less. Do you think they're already friends with benefits?
Well, Mark, let's stick to the drawing room and not stray into horizontal quarters, shall we?
Lady C, you're not getting shy on me, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm simply drawing a veil over things that I think are indecorous to address.
Well, sometimes silence is deafening. What do you think about this story? Because in PR terms, Phil Dampier, this would be ideal for Prince Andrew, wouldn't it? I mean, we'd all be watching the wedding.
Yeah, good evening, Mark. Well, believe it or not, and I know I don't look old enough, my first job was in 1986, was covering their wedding in Westminster Abbey. So it really would be going full circle if they got married for the second time. But I have to say, I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, to answer your earlier question to Lady C, they are best friends. They have lived under the same roof for many, many years, but they're not romantically involved. And I just can't see it happening. I mean, I think they've been very supportive to each other, obviously through her recent breast cancer ordeal. And obviously, we all know what he's been through. I thought at Christmas he looked overweight. He was in this video that one member of the public shot, and he looked very, very sort of downbeat. I think he's almost verging on being clinically depressed. I can't see what he's going to be doing in the near future, but certainly these latest revelations that we've had from the Epstein files aren't going to help. And I just don't see him coming back. But certainly marrying her, the suggestion by Michael Cole, I love Michael Cole, but I think the idea that that would help him shows how low he's sunk.
However, Phil, I mean, it is kitchen sink time for Prince Andrew, and Sarah Ferguson and Andrew have an electric chemistry, and she's been incredibly loyal to him. I mean, she's about his only cheerleader aside from his daughters.
Yeah, it's suited her to hang on to his coattails over the years, to be honest. I mean, she's had a roof over her head. She's been able to do, her work and go off and do her thing. He of course, was gallivanting around the world, enjoying himself, and of course, that's all come home to roost. So I think it was a mutually beneficial situation for them. But yeah. I can't see them getting remarried. It's just not.
No, and also, Lady C, it's worth pointing out, Prince Andrew, he's a bit of an old slapper, isn't he? I'm not sure that Sarah Ferguson would want him back.
I'm not quite sure what an old slapper is. I'm sorry.
I think he's what Hillary Clinton would describe as a dog that's hard to keep on the porch.
Oh. Well, Hillary Clinton is definitely an expert in that field, isn't she? But I don't think that Prince Andrew and Bill Clinton are in the same category at all. Let me put it that way. I think, in fact, they are as different as night and day, contrary to Prince Andrew's reputation.
Well, definitely. Listen, you'll have to look up, Lady C, the word slapper after the programme. But can I ask you, do you think that Prince Andrew has actually been given a hard time, given the fact that he's been made or found guilty of no crimes, and settled out of court with his accuser, Virginia Giuffre, with no admission of any guilt.
Oh, I think undoubtedly he's been given a hard time. And, I actually am perplexed that people in this country don't realise that, because he's a British prince, he's been hung out to dry. What about all of the Americans who were far more involved? I think it's pretty unfair. And yes, he had a very inappropriate friendship with a very inappropriate person. But the fact of the matter is, and I know this personally because of friends of mine, that, people really had no idea what Epstein was up to. I mean, when you're as decadent as he was, you don't go around broadcasting it to people you're trying to impress.
Yeah.
And I really think that people have taken a totally wrong line on this. And I have to say, there's one newspaper group in this country that spearheads an awful lot of this and was in fact responsible through one of their leading journalists for luring Virginia Giuffre out of her lair and which started the whole thing. And they are great cheerleaders for the anti-Prince Andrew campaign, which is to cover up for what they have done.
OK. Now, of course, Virginia Giuffre is not here to defend herself, and she would challenge allegations made against her. And, of course, the Prince settled with her to the tune of several £1 million. But Lady C and Phil D, let's talk about Harry and Meghan, the butt of jokes at the Golden Globes last night. Take a listen.
Turns out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will still get paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing. And that's just by Netflix.
Talented comedian host Joe Coy also pointed the finger at and made a bit of fun about Harry scrambling around for cash.
How great was Imelda Staunton in The Crown? Wasn't she amazing? Her portrayal of the Queen was so good, Prince Harry called her for it and asked her for money. Like I said, I didn't write all these.
Oh dear, how do you think that will be going down in Montecito, Phil? They won't be happy, will they, the royal couple?
They won't be happy. When you start to become figures of ridicule, you are in trouble. I mean, that wouldn't have happened a couple of years ago when they first went out there. They were popular. And when you've fallen out with the woke lovies and they're starting to take the mickey out of you, you know that your star has fallen, I'm afraid. So, now this follows on from South Park, doesn't it? And a couple of other programmes that have, berated them. And everyone's laughing there. Everyone's just regarding them as figures of fun. And I think this year is going to be a real turning point for them. I think unless they pull something out of the bag, they are in for a bit of a nosedive.
Well, how might that briefly, Phil, how would that manifest a bad year? What could happen? Are we talking financial problems? Are we talking marriage on the rocks?
Well, I think, they've lost their Spotify thing, haven't they? They've run out of items at Netflix. The money's not flowing in. Unless they come up with some really good money-making schemes, they've got all the security to pay for and all sorts of, running costs. So I really think they've got to get hold of something to make some money. Otherwise, they are in trouble. And at the moment, there's nothing on the horizon.
How bad could things get for the couple, Lady Colin Campbell?
No, I can guarantee they're going to get an awful lot worse. Wait until spring. They have a real bomb coming their way in spring. I think they are going to be completely exposed before this summer. Let me put it that way. I think they are going to be in such deep trouble. It's going to be nothing that we can imagine. I think the chickens are coming home to roost in a very big way.
Briefly, you're speculating wildly, but what do you mean, Lady C? What might happen?
Well, I'm afraid I can't say beyond this, but believe me, I know what I'm talking about, and I know who's going to drop the bomb.
Oh, my goodness. Well, look, I hope you'll be here to commentate on it. My thanks to the royal dream team of Phil Dampier and Lady C. A fascinating conversation. I think you'll agree